Hey everyone, this week I wanted to go through how to make some polymer clay earrings. I go through how I make these ones in particular, but you don't have to have cutters or much to make these. They're fun. You can see my copper earrings glisten because they've got glitter in it. It's just a bit of fun. If you're in lockdown like I am, we're apparently in week 7 and I the other week was saying we're in week 5 or 6. I can't keep up, but anyway, just something a little fun to do and I hope you enjoy it. I've got all my materials laid out on this terrazzo board that I've got. I haven't used this before, so we'll see how it goes. I've cleaned the surface down. I've cleaned all of my tools that I'm going to use, including a pasta machine that I'm going to use to roll out and prepare the clay. So I just wanted to show you the tools that I've got and that I'll be using. So I've got this Primo Sculpey clay. This is a 24 piece, obviously I've used some, but this is a good little tester, I guess. So I think each individual piece is around 25 or something grams, so they're tiny, but they're a good start if you want to test colours. I've also got an acrylic roller. You can use a plastic one, you can use a glass bottle, anything that will roll out. I've got some cutters because today I'm going to make, I'm thinking a tulip flower on the earrings, on a round earring. You don't have to have shapes and you don't have to have cutters. You can just use something like an X-Acto knife or anything that's going to be able to cut. I've seen people use bottle caps or anything that's going to cut through the clay. I have a skewer that I'm going to use to make the holes. 2 pliers. This one's a 4-in-1. This one is just a simple round nose plier. Then I've got jump rings. You can use different sizes. There's 6mm, 8mm, you can get larger. And just a standard, I think they call this a French coil hook. I've also got a sheet of baking paper that'll go on my baking tray, and I've got the oven preheated. Might be magenta pearl, that's what I think that's called. I'm going to use this green for maybe a stem, maybe a leaf. I realised I have this gold, I'm going to use it for something else, but now I'm going to potentially use it for the base of my earring, or I'll use this. I'll roll them both out and see how I go. Any unused clay I will just put in this Glad wrap, and I'll still need to knead it once I need to use it again, but at least it's still fresh, it hasn't dried up or anything, so that's excellent. At this point, what you want to do is get your pieces ready. You want to warm this up because it can be so hard, so you can either do that by chopping it up and just massaging your fingers through it. You can put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in water. You can sit on it, not when it's covered, you can sit on it and just let the heat warm it up, or you can just break it up, which is what I've done here. I cut it in half and then I just run it through the pasta machine, or you can just slowly and surely get your roller and go backwards and forwards. And some clays are harder than others, so sometimes it'll take more of a go. Just go backwards and forwards. And you also want to try and avoid making any bubbles, because it'll be just little holes in your clay pieces. So I fold it, and it's better when it's folded to push outwards, but you'll still get bubbles. But the general idea is like you start in the middle and you push the air out, push the air out, and you keep going until when you bend it, it doesn't have any cracks. It doesn't rip, it's just soft, it's together. You can draw things out and plan it that way, or you can just cut your pieces now that it's been rolled out. You can cut your pieces and have a play that way. So I've got a rough idea, and I'm just going to get my acrylic roller, and I like to wipe it down. I'm just going to go over a little bit. And they're roughly the same thickness. I'm going to get my clay pieces, and I like to put it on some paper, some baking paper. I'm going to use my first cutter. And I just smooth over the edges, because it'll bake the way that you put it in. So I try and just get as much of it as perfect as I can. But it's also nice to have, you know, a little remnant of handmade quality. So that's piece one. I just find it so much easier to pull it off the baking sheet. So I've got my 4 pieces done, and now I'm going to move on to the tulip flowers. Punch it in, and I'm gonna need something to get it out a little bit. For these littler pieces that might be a little bit hard to get out, and if you don't want to have to push into the clay pieces, what you can do is put some cling wrap over it. Like that, and then you get your little cutter and you just push into it, and then you'll be able to get your piece without it sticking, and just pull it off. So sometimes the cutter doesn't cut nicely, so this is where an X-Acto knife would be handy, because you can clean up your pieces. It doesn't take very much either, because it's just clay. I've got my 6 pieces, and my idea for this is I'm going to grab 2 and just cut in the middle and smooth out any lumps. This is definitely one of the good things about clay, is that you can bend things and squish things together. My idea is to have the tulips have 3. Now I haven't done this before, so this is going to be a test, but I'm going to stick it so it's sort of even. So I've got my 4 little tulips. You don't have to do flowers, I'm just showing you flowers, but the general idea of how to use polymer clay to make earrings is the same. This is just a little bit different. Now up to my leaves. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this. This is part of what could be helpful if you pre-design. I know I'm definitely going to put some Glad wrap over it and cut the pieces out. So my green little pieces are cut. They've been smoothed out just by using my fingers. And now I'm going to play around and see what I like. So I've got one little tulip already on the disc, and you know, these don't have to be as intricate. And if you've seen tulip greenery, it's not, it's quite smooth. Might do something like this. And I'll make enough space for a little hole at the top. They're all done. You can, at this stage, get a bit of rubbing alcohol. I'm using a tissue because that's all I've got at the moment. And just clean up, like there's a little pink on that bit that I didn't want. Can clean up fluff and smooth out the clay a bit better. Now it's time to put a hole at the top. And I just pick sort of anywhere with my skewer. I'm gonna try and make it a big hole. Now they are ready. I'm going to put them on my baking tray, and I'm going to cook them according to the instructions that were on the box. The thicker your clay is, the harder it will get. The thinner your clay is, the bendier it is. I don't mind either way. The least fragile is what I like. And the longer you cook it for, the better it is anyway. There's should be no problem with doing it. So I'm going to pop these in the oven and then report back. My earrings have been cooked. Now I'll give you a closer look. And they're a lot tougher, not as bendy, and I'm able to touch them without any real problems. Yeah, they look great, and particularly in the sun, because they've all got a little bit of glitter in them. They're going to be really nice. So I'm going to get my 2 pliers, and all I'm going to do is get my jump rings out, my hooks, just pull it apart. My first finger and my thumb holding on one end, and I'm just using the plier to twist it out of alignment. And I'm just going to test to make sure they can fit. This is the fiddly part. Oh, I'm just going to leave that in now because it fits like a dream. And now I'm going to put my hook through. I have no problem using the 2 pliers, but obviously in the camera wants to make a liar out of me. So one. Before putting these on, you can use wet and dry sandpaper to sand it down if you want. You don't have to put any resin or any sort of hardener or anything on it. It should be fine as it is. And in fact, I kind of like it as it is, so I'm not going to do anything to these. So they do take a bit of time to do, but it's a good craft project. You get something at the end of it. It's not terribly difficult to do, and they are beautiful. And that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this. I've got also on my blog, if you go to my website, full written instructions on how to make polymer clay earrings. And I hope you got something out of it. And if there's any tips that you've got for me, I'd love to hear them in the comments section below. Otherwise, enjoy getting creative.